Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's had a great week out there as it comes to an end and we're heading off into our weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling awesome this morning. It's Friday. I get off work a little bit early today. Go pick up our new dog. If you haven't been tuning in, we're getting a new dog today. We got to drive to portions of Tennessee to go pick him up, so we're super excited. I'll post some pictures of him probably sometime over the weekend for you folks. But definitely excited. But here to talk about the weather, there's a couple things to discuss. The first thing we'll talk about is this storm system over the weekend that'll bring a risk of severe weather. But I'm going to tell you right off the dot, not going to overhype anything. This severe weather that we're expecting for Sunday especially is not even going to be comparable to what we experienced last weekend, but it's definitely worth talking about in detail. So that's exactly what we'll do. We'll speak on the winter weather side of this storm system. There'll be some snow for areas really far north, so we'll have a little segment for that. And then we'll discuss a little bit on what we're seeing going forward. So is there any other significant storm system as we get into, deeper into next week? Is there just any kind of cold spells, big warm-ups? So what are we seeing? We'll speak a little bit on the long range. And we really haven't had a chance to do that lately on this channel because we've been just pretty much focusing on these individual storm systems that keep appearing and keep happening. And they have been over the last several weeks. So we'll take a peek into the longer range and then we'll discuss today's weather like we always do. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. I will have you guys a Bible devotion at the end of the video if you want to stay tuned for that. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's start off by looking at this latest Storm Prediction Center information that we have for Sunday. They have not upgraded as of right this second to an enhanced risk. This is for Sunday morning through Monday morning. We have a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Some of the same areas that, did experience severe weather last week and will be under the gun again. But like I said, just don't think this is going to be even comparable to last weekend's severe weather event. But Memphis, Jackson, Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, all the way down to Greenwood, Oxford, Tupelo, all the way down to Mississippi Delta area, down to Vicksburg, Monroe, Shreveport, Longview, Henderson, Texas, El Dorado, all the way up to Pine Bluff. You guys have a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Now, don't ignore the dark green area either. This is a level 1 out of 5 risk. We could get an extension further to the north and northeast of this slight risk, but as of right now, Bowling Green down to Nashville, down to Huntsville, Florence, Alabama, all the way down and through Tuscaloosa, all the way down through Jackson, Mississippi, all the way down through Alexandria and through a good chunk of eastern, really northeastern sections of Texas. Well, it's eastern Texas, but all the way up through Texarkana, all the way up to just pretty much almost to Little Rock, a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. So we will watch for an extension one way or the other, or an upgrade. I'm not going to rule out another upgrade to an enhanced risk, which would show up in the orange, level 3 out of 5 risk. But for now, just a level 2 out of 5. And what we know right now for day 3 is that there is just a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in a given location in this yellow area. They have still not, you got to get inside day 3 before they section out the categories, as far as tornado, damaging winds, and hail. But what I'll tell you right now, I really think what will drive this severe weather risk, in my opinion, is a damaging wind threat. But we are still going to have a tornado risk with this and a large hail risk. So this is the latest updated information for the Storm Prediction Center. So let's just take a look at the Euro on what it's showing. We're not in short-range model guidance yet, so we can't really get a great kind of view on what the structure of these storms are going to be. So we have to look at global model guidance, the Euro. So we'll start this out around, this is about 1 p.m. Central Time. Okay, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So we got some blobs of green you see on your screen. These could be thunderstorms, strong to severe. What you'll notice is as we get into Sunday afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, we start to get a widespread coverage of showers and storms. And even though you're just seeing, these blobs of green, little splotches of orange and red, these could be thunderstorms. Now, as we start to get into Sunday evening, this is like 6, 7, 8 o'clock. We start to get this widespread thunderstorm development. and they look stronger just based off this model representation that we have right through here. Okay, so it's pretty much right across that slight risk area from Louisiana through southeastern areas of Arkansas, good chunk of Mississippi, Middle Tennessee, Western Tennessee, all the way up through Kentucky. Now, who's going to have the highest tornado threat? Who's going to have the just highest risk of severe weather in general? We're not quite sure, but for now, just focus on that slight risk area for the highest risk of severe weather. But you can see widespread thunderstorm development in this circled area occurring. Now, what I think could potentially happen is we have what we call an MCS, a mesoscale convective system. So basically what that is just a line of storms capable of producing severe wind gusts. And it could, produce any other severe things too, like tornadoes and hail. But I really think we'll have this draping line of storms that will cruise across areas of the South. And we start to get into the overnight hours, they begin to sink all the way down to the Gulf coastline. And heck, by the time we're in the wee hours of the morning, Monday morning, like 3, 4, 2 o'clock in the morning, we should have this line of storms making it all the way to the Gulf coastline. So by the time we're waking up, or we might get woken up by this, Monday morning, these storms are probably making their way through the Gulf coastline, like Mobile, Pensacola, Biloxi, Gulfport, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and then they should trail off into the northern Gulf. So we'll see what happens. We could get more thunderstorm development as we get into Monday, but it really shows this cold front clearing out the air mass and no thunderstorms developing after that. If you look at the ingredients, these are dew points, so thermodynamics, and what we know, and we'll kind of cruise through this pretty quick. No point in harping on this too long. But the ingredients are there for an area, and we get into about Sunday afternoon. You see these dew points are in the 60s. You got this little kind of corridor up the Mississippi Valley, up the Mississippi Delta region in Mississippi, all the way into Western Tennessee, where dew points do creep into like the low 60s. So that's enough kind of moisture in the air mass to get these storms going. So we do have a pretty moist air mass down here. Now you see there is a sharp cutoff up here in like Missouri. You go from dew points in the 30s to dew points in the 50s and 60s in Arkansas and sections of the Boot Hill, Missouri. We got this little slither of moisture that does try to get all the way up into the Midwest, but it's not deep. Only dew points in the 40s and 50s up here. So I don't think that's sufficient enough moisture to really get significant severe weather ongoing, but that could change. And then we get into Sunday evening, and even some deeper moisture tries to creep up into like Memphis, maybe even Little Rock. And then the cold front kind of sweeps in and really pushes and suppresses down this moist field of air and clears out the severe weather threats as we get into Monday. Now, some of this Gulf moisture does hang out along the Gulf coastline, so we could still get thunderstorms along the Gulf coastline as we're getting into Monday afternoon. I do want to watch for that. So we got the moist air for Sunday, which is the big day. Now, we do have some pretty decent CAPE values. As we get into like midday, very early afternoon Sunday, CAPE values spike into over 1,500 joules per kilogram in like areas of Louisiana, creeping into southwestern areas of Arkansas. CAPE values over 2,000, almost 2,500 joules per kilogram down here. CAPE meaning storm fuel, energy needed for these storms to really intensify, really take advantage of this energy in the atmosphere. Now down here you would think, man, why isn't there a severe weather risk for, like Houston down to Corpus Christi, southern areas of Texas, where you don't have a lot of lift in the atmosphere, not a lot of flow in the atmosphere to even be a forcing mechanism to get these storms going. You got to find where your best overlapping conditions are. And as we're getting into, say, Sunday afternoon, you see this little area right here that kind of builds up through Arkansas, all the way up into Western Tennessee, through sections of Mississippi. Okay, so this is definitely enough fuel to get these storms going. But do you have any flow going over this energy in the atmosphere and this better surface moisture? Normally, CAPE responds to higher humidity, if that makes sense. That's an easy way to look at it. So you look at the flow in the atmosphere. Okay, this is flow at the upper levels. So flow at like 17, 19,000 feet up in the air. And as we're starting to move this in time, this little upper low digs down into areas in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. So you got enough flow over areas in northern Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas. We got this 40, 50, 60 knot upper level flow riding over this area. This is favorable wind energy coming out the west to really force and get these storms going. Now, this is kind of going like this, and you think, well, the storms are probably going like that too. Well, all this energy is diving down like this. So this is kind of not unusual, but it's definitely not the common severe weather threat that we get in the south this time of the year. Typically we have this area that you're seeing in purple kind of digging like this, and we got energy shooting like this, bringing a lot of energy like this right into this area. Okay, it's a lot of thises. Instead, we're getting some energy shooting down here with this associated upper low. Therefore, we might have little embedded short waves kind of diving down in this region. And as this moves in time here, this energy will actually try to dig a little bit further south. So what I'm trying to say is, if we back this up a little bit, the reason you're not getting a lot of thunderstorms down here into Texas is because you don't have a lot of flow on average down here. You got more flow kind of right here into this region. And let's just take all this off, kind of right here into this area. And this is the same area where you have your best moisture at the surface. So we talk about this a lot. We use this word, overlapping. Where's your best overlapping conditions for severe weather? Well, your moisture kind of hangs out and gets into this area, and then we have just enough flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere to get these storms going over that moist air mass. So that's why we're getting a severe weather threat for Sunday. I hope that makes sense. But on the winter weather side of things, there will be a winter weather side, and as this low pressure, kind of upper level low moves in, as we're getting into Sunday morning, we're probably going to have a few to several inches of wet snowfall that falls in northern areas of Minnesota, and then we start to get this into midday Sunday. Look at this wet snow flying around across Wisconsin. This starts to move into the UP of Michigan. You're going to get some more late season snow up here, northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. Yes, in fact, they already got winter storm watches issued for areas of northeastern Minnesota for the snow on the way. But you guys are going to get some more accumulating snow out of this, especially as we're getting into Sunday evening, the same time that where we will be getting severe weather to the south. And then as we start to get into the overnight hours of Sunday night into Monday morning, the system will continue. And Monday morning, snow is still flying around across many areas of Michigan. And we actually could have snow that lingers around in the form of some like lake effect snow. It's crazy in late March as we are starting to get into Tuesday morning. So definitely a wintry start to your week next week and the end of next week. But the end of this weekend into early next week for the Great Lakes region, especially the UP of Michigan. You guys are going to hang on to winter for as long as possible. And if you look at the snowfall signal, and let's back it up here because I do want to show this system for the Northeast. Sorry to leave you guys hanging. Let's back this up a little bit. You guys also will get some snow from this in the Northeast. For example, this is getting into Monday morning, March the 24th. Okay, so we got some wet snow moving into the interior areas of New York. Even the Catskills getting a little bit of snow. Poconos, maybe a burst of snow before it switches to rain. But this could definitely be a decent late season winter weather event for you guys in Vermont, New Hampshire. This is getting in the midday Monday, snow in the blue. It's all rain, of course, of the I-95 corridor. And the snow could be pretty heavy in areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, southern areas of Maine. We have to watch this for Maine. This could turn into a pretty solid late season winter storm for Maine as we're getting into, say, Monday evening. This is for Monday evening, Monday night. It's snowing pretty hard for most of the state of Maine, and then this heads on out. So I have to watch this storm system. If we look at the snow signal, this is in 48-hour periods, 2-day periods, and we started off this morning, and you're going to see where let's see if we got this right. Yeah, so you're going to see where you get a pretty heavy signal for accumulating snow across northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, the UP of Michigan. You got a several inch snowfall mean across this area. We'll get a little bit closer to these areas once we're probably into tomorrow morning's video, where we'll be able to show you the individual graphics once it's all the way through the entire system. But this is a pretty decent signal for more accumulating snow through this area. You'll get a little bit of a lake enhancement up here off Lake Superior, the western side. But certainly a solid signal for another winter storm up here. I don't know if it'll be enough to pump out winter storm warnings, but definitely a solid winter storm for sure. And then we'll even look at let's look at New England. Where are you, New England? There you are. Let's back it up here. It's a pretty solid signal for a winter storm in this area, especially the Adirondacks. Little signal for the Catskills, Vermont, New Hampshire. Robin, I think you'll get some accumulating snow off this. Maybe not a whole lot, and then most of the state of Maine, except the far extreme southern areas of Maine, has a pretty solid signal early next week for accumulating snow. We just got to figure out the details of it. So going forward here and looking kind of at the pattern for the longer range, we'll kind of start this off next Tuesday evening when that storm system we just discussed kind of clears out. I think we're going to have a lot of troughing over the eastern U.S., so what this is going to do is bring some cooler air for the eastern U.S. Kind of midway next week. That'll kind of irritate some people that are warm weather fans. Even I'm a warm weather fan this time of the year. I just kind of want to get the full-time spring. But after we get into later portion of next week, we get into about a week from today, next Friday, I do want to watch for some activity to be on the increase from the middle of the country. It shows like dual lows here, but what I would focus in on is this area, and that there could be some sort of storm system that begins to show up more and more on model guidance. And models have been doing a pretty good job in the longer range with sniffing out a time frame and sticking with it. So the Euro says, watch out for a strong storm system next weekend. Let's just say next weekend has a 989 low over Iowa, so another strong low pressure. And then it wraps up, gets stronger, and this certainly could bring severe weather to the south and maybe a strong winter storm to the north. So I would watch this storm system over the middle of the country. No point in pinpointing states and stuff like that. Just watch the middle of the country, and of course this could bring severe weather to the south. And then that heads on out, and then we'll stop it at day 10. No point in going any further in that. And then we look at the GFS. Does it show that storm signal too, or storm system too? You get about a week out. And here comes a lot of moisture, ridge spiking all the way up here, all the way to pretty far north, warm air coming in. It does show a storm system, but it definitely is not the same look as the Euro. Shows a lot of moisture hitting cold air way up here in Canada, but there's no strong low pressure. Eventually, it does develop something later in the next weekend, right into here and across the plains and across the Midwest. Same area, stronger storm system, but it's more zonal. It doesn't kind of strengthen and eject and gain latitude. So I would just watch. This is Mitch's call, I guess you would say. I'd watch another stronger storm system by the time we get into next weekend. If you look at the Euro ensemble, it does try to pick up on a storm system a week from today. Remember, 998, this is blending a bunch of model guidance together and creating a mean average millibar low. And the mean average around this area is 998, so it's a week from today. It does show a signal for a storm system in the middle of the country, but it shows the signal kind of weakening as we get into the weekend. So that's something to watch, but it does show something over the middle of the country. So, but just, taking a look at the temperature outlook between now and, this is 6 to 10 days, so March 26th through the 30th, the last several days of March. It wants to go with below average temperatures in the blue across the Great Lakes region, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic, and the Ohio Valley. And it shows a good chunk of the country out west in the middle of the country going with above average temperatures. And then precipitation, it shows a good chunk of the country going for slightly above or just flat out above average precipitation with a couple dry areas in the southeast and in the southwest. So that's kind of a peek at the longer range. Let's talk about today's weather. We got this surge of moisture going across New England, areas of the northeast. Cold air's trying to catch up with it, so we're trying to switch to some back-end snow in like Vermont and eastern areas of New York. We're getting this surge of moisture all the way up into eastern Maine. Western Maine. It looks like it's raining pretty good out in Cape Cod, and then we just got some cold air kind of coming on down from Canada. But most of the cold air is kind of bottled up in Canada. But most of the country is pretty quiet. We got energy moving in out west, but nothing significant ongoing right now. I will say watches, warnings, and advisories. Winter storm watches are up for northeast Minnesota for that winter storm on the way. But these could just get upgraded to winter weather advisories. But I do think we'll get a slew of winter storm watches and winter weather advisories, maybe upgrading to winter storm warnings here in the next 24 hours up here in this region. Please pay attention to these red flag warnings. We're getting a lot of winds over the country, and guys, these strong winds. I know a lot of people, get really lost in the conspiracy theories. Believe what you want. We're not here to, dive into that. But the reason we're getting strong winds, guys, is because we keep getting strong low pressures over the middle of the country. Each time you get a strong low pressure that kind of does like this, or like this, or like that, this kicks up a lot of strong westerly and southwesterly winds. And if you ain't got a lot of rain in a long time, then you're going to have a fire risk. It's pretty normal in the spring to get low pressures cutting across the middle of the country. So anyways, red flag warnings are across areas of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, New Mexico, even across areas of Florida. So just be mindful of how dry it is. Don't drag any chains out there. Throw any cigarette butts out your car. Certainly fire risk in these hot pink colors counties out here. So we got some winter weather advisories in the purple, some freeze warnings ongoing right now for the cold temperatures, some wind advisories. So excessive, this is the severe storm prediction center. I can't speak. A general risk of thunderstorms here in the Midwest and areas of the Northwest. But all in all, no severe weather expected today. Doesn't mean it can't happen. But we'll certainly watch for any thunderstorms. Excessive rainfall, nothing to really pay attention to or watch. This morning, it is kind of chilly across the southeast, but it's supposed to be a pretty nice day. It looks like it's going to be a really nice day. Beautiful blue skies. Not a whole lot to speak on. Very nice conditions. So enjoy it. Pollen is going crazy right now in areas of the southeast. I think yesterday I looked outside and for the first time this spring I just saw waves of yellow going everywhere. So pollen is pretty haywire out there. The Northeast, we're going to deal with this rain throughout the day, especially as we're getting into Maine. But the rest of the Northeast will begin to sort of clear out. But by the time we're getting into this evening, this low could begin to intensify. You could get a burst of heavy snow in the down east areas of Maine as it pulls away tonight. But then we get into the overnight hours and another weak system begins to move in. But all in all, once you get all this moisture that clears on out and away out in the Northeast, then you end up having a pretty decent day. Just probably left with some chilly conditions. The Southern Plains, South Central U.S., nothing to speak on. Quiet day. We'll watch for some thunderstorms in Iowa today, but we'll speak on that here in a second. But a pretty nice day across the South Central U.S. The North Central U.S., this energy will kind of swing through. This could get some thunderstorms going in Iowa today. I would watch this, and it could produce some hail as there is some cold air nearby. So don't be surprised if you get a hailstorm in areas of central to southeast areas of Iowa. Don't let it shock you. A little bit of energy swings down to the UP of Michigan. This will bring some light to moderate snow, and then some energy will pivot back over Lake Superior. And by the time you get into the overnight hours, could get some lake effect snow that gets going, and you're waking up tomorrow morning and it's feeling like winter again for areas of the UP of Michigan. Maybe some snow showers in lower Michigan. And then out west, just some energy flying across the Cascades, the Pacific Northwest. Spring rainy times from Eugene, Medford up to Seattle, Northern California. Higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. Then this energy makes its way all the way to the Northern Rockies. None of these systems are really strong, just rounds of moisture. But temperatures today, not overly hot anywhere, even a cooler day down into Florida. But the Northeast will be cold. It'll be a cold day. Even the Mid-Atlantic, even the Southeast is a cooler day, only in the 60s. Not overly really hot anywhere, honestly. Warm in the Southwest, but, it's pretty warm across the West. All the cold air is pretty much bottled up in Canada, which, it's starting to get late in March, guys. That's pretty normal. So, all right, that's pretty much it with the weather. Let's do our little devotion. Wow, I didn't realize that Rocket was behind me. I didn't even know who was in here. He's a good boy. He's kind of a cat that... He's a cat that, when he wants love and he wants it, he's aggressive with it. But when he don't want it, man, he's a terror. But anyways, our Bible devotion. So this morning, we're in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31 and 32. Okay, Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31 and 32. Let all bitterness, anger, and wrath, shouting, and slander be removed from you, along with all malice, and be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as God also forgave you in Christ. Okay, so Scripture is really hitting on forgiveness, and honestly, just getting rid of all those negative emotions that you feel. And I think some people struggle with hanging on to a grudge and just holding stuff against people, and obviously we all struggle with the negative thoughts sometimes, but just remember we gotta let stuff go, guys. We gotta forgive people, and some people do some outrageous, terrible things, but the best way to get better at that, because I'm sure that is a struggle for a lot of people, is just to, and this is the best way to get better at anything when you're trying to live a better Christian life, is just to continue to build your relationship with Christ. And you'll be able to look at some of those things, some of the situations where people do bad things to you, let you down, whatever it may be, and you'll be able to forgive them a lot easier. Now, I've always been able to, I can't, I always like to try to provide an example, because I think providing an example to Scripture, is a great way to understand it, relate to it a lot more. But to me, I've never struggled that much with forgiving people. I've always been able to, I've always been the person that did not like the negative energy kind of in the air when you're bickering with somebody that you kind of have to look at every single day. I think a great example is probably like somebody that you work with, that you're fighting with, or even your wife or your husband. You got to obviously see them every single day. To me, I'm the person that cannot sit there and just marinate over the aggravation and just the negative energy. I cannot hold the grudge. I want to go to that person, and I just want to naturally say, hey, look, how can we get through this? How can we make our way through this? And, I guess that would be my advice approach. Try to go to that person, talk to them about it. And we're called to forgive people. Okay. And just kind of rambling, guys. Every one of these Bible devotions are probably not going to be as smooth. And I feel like if I write stuff down, it just doesn't come from the heart. It doesn't flow as well for me. I've never been someone that likes to write something down. For example, I shared my testimony in my life group at church Sunday, and I didn't write anything down. I just kind of spoke from the heart. But, just don't hold grudges against people. We're called not to do that. Forgive them, even when it's hard. Be understanding. Try to relate to their situation, and try to understand, maybe is there something that I did wrong, because there probably is if you look deeper into it. And continue to live Christ-like lives, and I think that it will become much easier to do that, to forgive others. So anyways, I'm going to sign off here. Have you guys a wonderful start to your weekend. Asking for prayer, certainly, that I get to Tennessee and back safely tonight. Going to pick up our new puppy dog. But God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys Saturday morning. God bless.